Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's going on, y'all? What's up, ma? Welcome, you guys, to another watch party. Glad you guys could show up. Well, who's coming in first? I know you guys like to wait until things actually start before you guys come in. So let me give you guys a couple of seconds because this is only the second edition of the watch party. I jumped on yesterday for anybody who's just going to be new today. I jumped on yesterday to talk about the madness that was going on, Donald Trump's anger, because I woke up to him cussing about his situation with Israel and Iran. And man, y'all showed up. So I'm hoping for you guys to show up again. It was fun. I like going back live again, just like the good old days of the live versions of the watch list. Let's kind of do it. It's the same time slot, I think, unless my old man memory doesn't serve me correctly. It's the same time slot that we had before we led right into TDR with the damage report. What's up, May Money? I knew you'd be here. The notifications are on, apparently. I don't know if you guys let John know. Did you guys let John know? I need the dragons as they show up. Do you guys let John Iderola know that we now have a lead in to his show? I mean, I know it starts at noon Eastern and he starts at 1 o'clock. I may not be on it for an hour, I gotta be honest. But we will chat it up and see what you guys are talking about. I have something that's always on my mind when I first get up in the morning when it comes to politics, or I see it jump up on me and I just have to talk about it. One of those things that we got now today is Donald Trump at the NATO summit. That's where he was taken off to fly to yesterday after he dropped that F bomb about how Iran and Israel had don't know what the F they're talking about. And then he stormed off because he was going off to the NATO summit. So they were asking him a bunch of questions about generally most everything, but of course, his approach to this conflict that he escalated. And now I think we're still in the points of a ceasefire again. Again, you guys can update me on this as we're going because who knows when these things change or how often they do. Glad you guys are here. Let's jump right in this then, you guys, since you guys are here for it. Let's go to this. Well, first off, I want to set up, as I was pointing out, Donald Trump is at the NATO summit and he was taking questions. And this was odd to me. It's just a little bit different, the way that he wants to approach things. I want you guys to always remember as we go through all of these, this is the guy who ran on ending foreign wars and not getting us started in any new ones. Many of his MAGA sycophants said that as well. So as we have that, keep that in mind. Look at the way that he talks about his Secretary of Defense. He's not big on that name anymore. You guys might.
Rubio with me and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State and Secretary of War. Should we say Secretary? You know, it used to be called Secretary of War. Maybe for a couple of weeks we'll call it that because we feel like warriors. It used to be called Secretary of War. In fact, if you look at the old building next to the White House, you can see where it used to be Secretary of War. Then we became politically correct and they called it Secretary of Defense. I don't know, maybe we'll have to start thinking about changing it, but we feel that way. Do we have any questions?
Stop talking. The Secretary of War. He's the Secretary of War. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. Now, when Pete Hegseth was going through about to go through his confirmations, he kept talking about how we're going to have warriors, a war ethos, lethality. He kept saying that was one of his main lines. So, of course, Donald Trump is continuing on the same path of talking about how this administration has a Secretary of War. This administration that was supposed to be for peace. Remember that part? A Secretary of War, and it's going to be Pete Dumbass Hegseth, who I guess he just probably heard about it right then because Trump likes to ramble. And he goes, I guess I am Secretary of War. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be starting wars and fighting them. When are the people who kept talking about how this is a peacetime president, even after he dropped those bombs and you said he's the president of peace? Why would he want to change the name to Secretary of War before things got politically correct? That's who you're dealing with. I'm just trying to make sure you guys understand it. I don't know why we can't see it. I have actually pretty good ideas of why we can't see it. But that was the kickoff point. That was him giving the reasoning for why he likes to do what he likes to do, because he feels like a warrior. This guy who avoided the military and is afraid of any kind of conflict, hand-to-hand, one-on-one with himself. He's a warrior now because he sent other people off into dangerous situations. Speaking of those other people, let's go to some of the things that they were talking about, because I saw this report yesterday as well. The intelligence on the effectiveness of those bombs, the bunker busters, as they were talking about, being dropped on those nuclear facilities in Iran. Some reports were pointing out, I saw this on CNN originally, but apparently New York Times as well. Apparently, some of those bombs didn't hit the effectiveness that they were looking for, or at least that they claimed that it was. Early reports, early intelligence. I saw Wes Clark Sr. on TV talking about it. He goes, those are always early reports. We're still finding out more of it. But at the time, Donald Trump was pitching how badass they were. So he doesn't like those reports. That was the main vein of this conversation he had. He really didn't like that those reports were out there because that's what he wants to look like, a warrior, a tough. Here's his anger.
One follow-up on Iran. Both you and Secretary Rubio and Hegseth mentioned the leader, but can you clarify, is the intelligence correct or is the intelligence wrong?
Well, the intelligence was very inconclusive.
Okay.
The intelligence says we don't know. It could have been very severe. That's what the intelligence says. So I guess that's correct. But I think we can take that we don't know. It was very severe. It was obliteration. And you'd think that a media outlet would say, isn't that a great thing? I mean,
why would they?
More importantly for the pilots, for the military, you take their guts out. You take their absolute guts out. They had a tremendous attack. It was a complete obliteration. The other team, the other group, Iran, said, let's stop this. And you know what? Israel said it too. Very smart. They fought like hell, and then they said, let's stop. And they're going to build themselves. And I really see it as sticking. I mean, we may do papers on it, Marco. Maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easy to stop them.
They're a bunch of children. You know, if nothing else, Jesus, if nothing else screams supremacy, and I believe I'm better or a higher figure than anyone else in the world, is these two children are fighting, and now we let them scrap it out in the schoolyard for 2 or 3 minutes, and now it's over. Nothing, you know, these are bombs. This is war. This is people's lives in danger, but you see how much he minimizes it. But off the top, again, this intelligence report, he said, I mean, it's inconclusive. He said it's inconclusive. So it's inconclusive. And since it's inconclusive, I'm going to go ahead and say that it was severe and devastating and there's nothing there but rubble. Okay, you can say it, but it's the reports still say what they said. It's a direct illustration of how he approaches facts versus what he wants it to be. He'll say it right in front of you. This is the fact, but I'm going to say this instead, and you should believe me because I'm Donald F. and Trump. That's his approach. That's his approach. That's his mindset. That's why he surrounds himself with so many idiots that do that, which we're going to get to in a second as well. But there was more on this. He kept going off about how this intelligence report was saying things that he didn't originally say. He's really upset about it. In fact, he keeps attacking news outlets for reporting. I mean, what did they report? Here's Caitlin Collins. She was talking to him. And before he knows that there's maybe going to be something he's going to get challenged. He got upset from the beginning.
Just go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Wait till you hear this question.
What are we laughing for?
You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions for you, Mr. President. You just cited Israeli intelligence on these attacks. Earlier, you said U.S. intelligence was inconclusive. Are you relying on Israeli intelligence for your assessment of the impact of the strikes?
No, this is also Iran made the statement. And it's also, if you read the document that was given that Pete can talk about if you'd like, the document said it could be very severe damage, but they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know other than to say it could be limited or it could be very, very severe. And you didn't choose to put that because it was very early after. Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out. Okay, question, please go ahead.
So again, he's pointing out it could have been severe, it could have been limited. So we're going to go with severe. You can choose whichever one you want. But then you see how there's a lack of actual evidence or any citing behind what he then said was, we've talked to more people and more people have told us. People have gone and looked at it and they've determined that that's that. Who are the people? Where's the report on that? Did the intelligence get updated? Again, it's only Wednesday morning for me. I don't know if the intelligence has been updated, but as of when he was talking about, if the intelligence has been updated and he's trying to convince someone of his perspective and his point of view, he should probably point out that the intelligence has been updated. But he hasn't. He just said some people went and looked out at it. This is the basic nature of an incompetent human being that's trying to run a country off of real intelligence. He's denied the intelligence when Tulsi Gabbard, as much of an ass kisser as she is, he denied her report when she was talking about beforehand how far Iran was from nuclear weapons. But he denied it because it didn't fit his narrative at the time, because Benjamin Netanyahu had already dropped a bomb. So at that point, he's got to be all about it at that point. And intelligence be damned. Same thing he did back in Helsinki in 2017. Kissed Vladimir Putin's ass because Vladimir Putin came to him strong and in very strong terms, said, I had nothing to do with that, Mr. President. In fact, now get back on your knees and kiss my ass some more. And he said, yes, sir. May I have another? Maybe your left ass cheek is unkissed. Let me go for that one. That's how he operates. Whatever fits his narrative for his political point of view or whatever kind of warmongering, in this case, now he wants to do, that's what he'll go for. How about some intelligence? Make some decisions based off of the intelligence instead of what you want. Enough people should probably pay attention to that and maybe want something different. We're going to get rolling here on more because, again, this theme has been how mad he is over this intelligence. But he wanted to point out how strong and tough he is. Because, again, off the top, Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of War. So think about the fragile state of this ceasefire it's currently in. And the guy who dropped bombs all over the place is talking like this as if he just ended it. The same guy who says he wants a Nobel Peace Prize. The wording he uses when he's talking comparisons of what he thinks he did.
But had we not succeeded with that hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now. But had we...
Why would they be fighting right now? Why would they be fighting right now if you didn't take that out? The fighting was happening because Israel went and bombed. And then, you jumped in and said you were part of that, even though beforehand you said you weren't. But then dropped all these bombs, like, because we have to make sure we stop this nuclear capabilities that all intelligence said was not the case. The only intelligence that said so was Israel's, specifically Benjamin Netanyahu, telling you for the past 35 years that that's the case. So, but to bring up Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we ended that one. I'm telling you, we ended that one. The guy's mindset goes straight to violence, death, and absolute destruction. We're talking about nukes. The whole point of this was talking about how you don't think Iran should have nukes because that'd be devastating to the region and the world. No one in the world would be safe. So, by the way, the only country that's ever dropped nuclear bombs on anyone else and murdered civilians is this one. The one that keeps telling you that you can't have any, and at the same time jokes about or relates to the fact the first time that we did use them as a way that we end wars that way. And we ended this one the same way. His mindset is completely on violence and death. That's who he is. If you're not on board with him, it's violence and death. That's primitive shit. Sorry, that's primitive. It's the kind of stuff that you say when you just have no civilization. You're a savage. You like to murder people. That's how you get your point across. It's weird because I think he's pretty much on board with the way that we've always been doing things in this country. We're going to get to something later that actually proves that out for people who get bristly about the history of our country and the things that we've done and the imbalance that we've set across the world that leads to more of these types of conflicts. It's only factually based. You just have to pay attention to it. I didn't always pay attention to it because it wasn't on my radar. When you actually listen to it and pay attention and watch history for actually what it is, it's really hard to deny it. And if you love your country, which I do, you might want to make it better by not repeating the same evil things that we always did. But this guy's not one of those guys. He's one of the evil ones, because we like to talk about it that way. So again, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you think those aren't seen as somewhat covert threats? We're the only country that's done that, in case you didn't realize that. So again, I want to go back to this because there was a way that he talked about it. I forgot to mention during that last clip, because I don't want to bring it up, but Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I don't want to, but I will. So he brought it up then, sitting down at that previous interview. So think about that, how he didn't want to bring it up, but he did immediately after saying he didn't. And then in this particular case.
Very bad, demeaned by fake news.
Oh, that's too fast. Slow it down, brother. Slow it down. Calm down, bro. Here he is mad at CNN again.
did very bad, demeaned by fake news CNN, which is back there, believe it or not, wasting time, wasting, nobody's watching them. So they're just wasting a lot of time, wasting my time.
If they're wasting your time and nobody's watching, why are you bringing them up? Just think about those things.
And the New York Times, they put out a story that, well, maybe they were hit, but it wasn't bad. Well, it was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, you know, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, you know, that ended the war.
Is it Hiroshima? Okay, sorry. Again, bringing up Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
War too. This ended a war in a different way, but it was so devastating. Also, they have out of Dubai just came that Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, this is Iran's foreign ministry, says it's near its nuclear installations were very badly damaged by the American strike. So what bothered me about these reports with fake reports put out by the New York Times, failing, I call it the failing New York Times because it's doing terribly. Without me, it would be doing no business at all. But, and by fake news, CNN and MSDNC, all of these terrible people, you know, they have no credibility. You know, when I started, they were at 94% credibility, the media. Now it's at 16%. And I'm very proud of it because I've exposed it for what it is. But when I saw them starting to question the caliber of the attack, was it bad? Well, it was really bad. It was devastating. They obliterated. In fact, you can't get into the tunnels. They just put that over. That just came out. They can't, there's nothing, there's no way you can even get down. The whole thing is collapsed in a disaster. And I think
the whole thing collapsed. It's a disaster. That's the only point he wants to get across. Again, these are not repeats of parts of an answer he had for the same question where he keeps talking about how he wants to press this home. There's a repetitive nature to propaganda. He really wants you to believe this. Fine. If you want us to believe it, just show the reports, bro. Cite the reports. Talk about the people who are trustworthy to do it. I talked about it yesterday. If you're a lifelong, well-known liar and a con man, there's no reason for anyone to believe you just because you say, believe me. From my mouth, and has nothing to do with the intelligence, has nothing to do with people on the ground, has nothing to do with actually what happened. But he did cite Iran talking about some damage being done. Of course, damage was done. You dropped bombs. The question is, what's the effectiveness of it? Did you take out the nuclear sites, or are you just here for show? Because you're a PR president. You're a person who likes to just show something and not actually have anything behind it. He's a talk show host. We keep forgetting that. This dude's a reality show host, and he was propped up even for that. That was not even from his own mindset. He was the figurehead host of the show. There's more. He's still mad. I'm sorry I'm running you guys through all these, but he was still upset. He's still mad. He doesn't like this coverage that doesn't show him being tough. That's his main objective. Please.
Even get down. The whole thing is collapsed in a disaster.
It's a disaster.
And I think all of the nuclear stuff is down there because it's very hard to remove. And we did it very.
What's the nuclear stuff that's down there? He said, I think all the nuclear stuff is down there. Just keep paying attention to how stupid he is. I don't know everything about nuclear sites. I don't know everything about proliferations of these weapons. I have no idea all the difference between uranium and the different nuclear compounds that come together for this. I don't know that stuff. I'm not a scientist. But what I'm able to do is listen to other folks who do know, who have described and talked about what it is it takes to create something like this and the reasons why they weren't near that. His answer is, it got all the nuclear stuff down there. What nuclear stuff, bro? Somebody should tell him something. But the people he surrounded himself with is Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio.
It's down there because it's very hard to remove. And we did it very quickly. When they heard we were coming, it was, you know, you can't move it. It's very hard, very dangerous actually to move too. And they also knew we were coming. So I don't think too many people want to be down there knowing we're coming.
Did they move it knowing you're coming, or did they not move it knowing that you're coming? How do you know how easy it is to move whatever it is that they needed to move? Maybe there were certain aspects that they could move. They could continue their program in other ways. Maybe you didn't know where everything was. Maybe you should pay attention to intelligence reports, which he doesn't do.
The bunker busters, as we call them, we're the only ones that have it. We have the best equipment, best nuclear equipment, and we have the best equipment in the world. And by the way, we can't forget our submarine, which was out there, submarines actually, but submarine was out there. We shot.
Notice It's still back to my military might. I know we have the best in the world. We have the best bunker busters. We have the best submarine. Don't forget about the submarines. Hey, Caitlin Collins, make sure you point out how great our military was. Why should she have to do that? Propaganda, that's why. So I think we've gotten through all the points of him constantly focused on making sure people believe whatever it is he's telling them. And now there should be a point of confusion. Whatever the intelligence reports say, we don't know how manipulated those may become, because he doesn't want any more embarrassing moments where Tulsi effing Gabbard is actually the one telling him some kind of level of truth, and he has to then reject it and call her an a-hole. That's actually what happened before. But this is a big aspect. This is different off of it. Someone asked him about this tweet or Truth Social post he had yesterday, where he said, I don't know if you guys saw this, but he said that China can go ahead and go back to buying Iranian oil. It's okay, open it up, which is a direct conflict between what he previously said about how he has these hardcore sanctions on Iran so that they can, come to the negotiating table, to have a deal after the one that was working, that was brokered during the Obama administration, so that he can have a new one that doesn't work, because the one that was working, he didn't like because it didn't have his name attached to it. Let's go to this, because he was talking about Iran and their oil selling. I want you guys to see this, because, again, he thinks he owns.
Go ahead. Yeah. Blue dress.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yesterday, you said China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran.
Yeah.
Are you giving up on your maximum pressure campaign? Because
With
there's
who?
sanctions right now.
She asked if he's given up on his maximum pressure campaign against Iran, the thing that he announced. And he said, with who? He doesn't know. His own declarations and proclamations and announcements of sanctions. He has no idea what she's talking about.
With who?
On Iran?
No, look, they just had a war. The war was fought. They fought it bravely. I'm not giving up. They're in the oil business. I mean, I could stop it if I wanted. I could sell China the oil myself. I don't want to do that. They're going to.
Why would you sell China the oil yourself? China gets, I think 13.5% of all of their oil supply comes from Iran. I think it's very small to America. An article I read a little bit earlier, very small. So just out of nowhere, I could sell it all to China myself. China has to buy it. He just thinks he can tell anybody what to do.
Need money to put that country back into shape. We want to see that happen. Would it? No, if they're going to sell oil, they're going to sell oil. We're not taking over the oil. We could have, I used to say with Iraq, keep the oil. I could say it here too. We could have kept the oil. Now China is going to want to buy oil. They can buy it from us. They can buy it from other people. But you're going to have to put that country back into shape. It desperately needs money. Yeah.
So now he's got to put the country back into shape. Iran's got to go put back into shape after you just bombed the facilities. And maybe China can buy it from us, and maybe they can buy it from Iran. What kind of sanctions, lady reporter, blue dress, as he pointed out? I want you guys to see some details here. Sorry, this is maybe the boring part because there's no video here, but I want you guys to see this from Reuters. They pointed something out here. I want you guys to see. This starting here. Any relaxation of sanctions enforcement on Iran would mark a U.S. policy shift after Trump said in February that he was reimposing maximum pressure on Iran, aiming to drive its oil exports to zero over its nuclear program and funding of militants across the Middle East. He apparently said that in February, had no idea that he had said it. So when asked about if he's lifting those sanctions, since he said, hey, trying to go ahead and buy Iranian oil so that they can rebuild their country, he thinks everything is just over. He thinks everybody likes him. And that now, after he dropped several bombs on this country, that then they're like, oh, great, good job, thank you. Maybe now I can rebuild my country and I can sell some oil. That's what the sanctions were for? Just long enough for you to drop some bombs? Because, by the way, folks in the White House said this isn't a drastic change in policy, because it would be if he said so. A little bit more, in case you guys didn't know. He imposed waves of these sanctions on several of China's independent teapot refineries and port terminal operations for purchases of Iranian oil. He's crazy. There's another part about this, because if he does this, his administration has to work in overdrive to try and find some way to sanctions aren't just something he puts on Truth Social. He thinks that sanctions aren't something you just post about on Truth Social, and then after posting it, it happens, and then when you delete the tweet, then suddenly it goes away. He doesn't know how anything works. He doesn't know how anything works. Only reason I know how these other things work is because I read an article or two. That's it. By the way, that's all I did. And I don't even know everything about it, but he doesn't even know that much. But he's in front of cameras and in a overseas trip talking with all this confidence. He doesn't know anything that he's talking about, by the way. One other part, because this is a big deal to me. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce. This is the folks that work for him. This is what they'll have to respond to because you never know what he's going to say. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce told reporters that Trump had signaled what he wanted to have happen, and that his administration is focused on delivering that. She wouldn't say what the process would entail. This is what I'm reading. She wouldn't say what the process would entail because she doesn't know, because he hasn't said it either. But clearly, we are focused on making sure that the guiding hand of President Trump prevails and moves this government forward. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to what it ends up looking like. That's a long way of saying Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what the next step is. He doesn't know what the plan is. When he said that China can buy Iranian oil, he had no idea what he was talking about. He just said, oh, everything's wide open. Everything is great now because I dropped some bombs. And the people that have to work for him and maybe answer every once in a while for him say things like, I don't know, he's a great guiding light. His light shines down upon me and I feel warmth. The man is omnipotent. That's their job. And then waiting for him to come up with something else that he's going to do. And I'm trying not to say things that I can't say on here, but little-brained Donald Trump doesn't know what he's going to do next, has no idea. And when people ask him what he's previously said versus what he's now going to do, he goes, what? Sanctions on who? What's Iran? Oil? They have oil? And lastly, the dude thinks he can just take it. I said before we could just take the oil, but then we didn't this time. Did you take over the country? Wait, were these bunker busters to disrupt a nuclear program, or was this something that you thought was some kind of a conquest over a country? This is the way he thinks. He drops a couple bombs, not him. Military officials drop some bombs. He takes credit for it and says he's a tough guy, then says, I could have taken everything I wanted anyway, but I decided not to. Let's let them sell it because I'm king of the world. This is who we're dealing with. This is the president of the United States. Before I jump to what you guys are saying, I want you guys to see why this is why he's surrounded himself with people like Marco Rubio and also Tammy Bruce. One other example here of the way the people in this administration, this according to Rubio, former presidential candidate for the Republican Party, former severe adversary of Donald Trump, says this about his job under Donald Trump's ass.
I think, but ultimately, once the president makes a decision, his instincts are uncanny.
His instincts are
And
uncanny.
we have to appreciate that. That's one of the things the people of the United States voted for, is a president who has incredible instincts about the right thing to do. And our job is to operationalize that. When he says, this is the direction I want to go, our job is not to spend all day trying to change his mind. Once he's made a decision, our job is to go out and make sure the president's orders are executed on. That's the way administrations work. When administrations fail is when you're filled or surrounded by people who don't agree with you. And so no matter what the president orders, spend their time trying to undermine him. We have a president who's been elected. He's been very clearly, I mean, as clear as anyone who's ever been elected, outlined what his views are on everything, including foreign policy. That's what the people of our country voted for. That's how our republic works. And our job is to go out and operationalize, execute on the president's vision based on really uncanny instincts.
Well, and I think that's
Uncanny instincts. He's got some uncanny instincts. Dude just foresees the future, knows what's going to happen. That's why he's effed up everything that he's done so far in these first few months in office. I mean, he's just uncanny. That's why it's all these tariff policies that have screwed up so many different deals that we've had, deals that we haven't had yet. I mean, he's just so omnipotent. He knows everything. On my job, Marco Rubio, he says his job is not to try and change this president's mind. That's the mindset. That's what changing the president's mind is, having a discussion with him and maybe telling him something that he doesn't know. Instead, it's whatever this president says, my job is to just go out and do it. It's a long way of saying my job is to be a yes man. I'm supposed to execute anything that the guy who doesn't know up from down wants me to do. My job is to sit, roll over, get pat on the head, and ask for a treat. It's embarrassing, isn't it? Isn't it embarrassing to say that publicly? That's something you say like behind closed doors when you don't want people to really know what your real job is. This guy would probably normally supposed to be behind someone as a hidden camera, where then he said, oh God, This president thinks that my job is just to sit here and do anything he wants, but what can I do? He's got me by the collar. He yanks it every once in a while, and I say yes. That's his job. He said that's his job, not to convince the president of something different in the world. Just do what he says. Just do what he says. What a loser. What a complete loser. Marco Rubio, weakling, weak POS. That's the last thing I want you guys to see. I saw this clip pop up. Joy Reid, who was fired from MSNBC, many folks were upset about this. Maybe she was going a little bit too hard. I'm not sure which topics she was on when she departed MSNBC, but I think maybe she was getting a little bit too real about the actual situation with the Middle East, the disruptions there, our effect on them. This is what I mentioned earlier, you guys. She went in on a significant, almost 2-minute explanation, clear, concise, and based on history as to why maybe other countries that were still currently killing their innocent civilians on a daily basis might not like us. There's always been this line. I remember when I first got into political talk in 2003, 2002, Iraq War came in. And it was, they hate us because they hate us. Joe Scarborough said that back when he was a Republican. They hate us because they hate us. It's the most childlike thought process ever. But that's how we run our country. They hate us just because we're who we are. They hate us because we're the greatest. They hate us because of all of this. And they completely ignore the history behind everything. The people that have issues with the country, that are Americans that live here, the issues that we have many times, it's based on history. It's based on what the government has done to people. It's based on what the establishment has done to certain people based on who they are, where they come from. So Joy Reid, she had a full explanation as to a reason why maybe some of these folks don't like overseas policy, and outside of just the childlike thought process of, yo, they just don't like us. Please listen to this very closely.
Understand that the United States plays an important role in the world. I am thrilled that the United States is trying to police the proliferation of nuclear weapons. Imagine what the world would look like if it was otherwise. And I
what the
think
world
that to
will
throw
say
away
is the
our
United
moral
States
voice.
would still be the only country that has ever bombed another country with nuclear weapons. And let me ask you one question. Why did the Iran hostage crisis take place?
See if he knows the answer. See if he knows any of these answers.
So certainly,
I'm asking you why.
Fundamentalist radicals took over the government who hate
Why?
the West.
Why
Because
did they take
hate
over the government? Why?
Because they're religious jihadis who want to eliminate Western society.
They hate our way of life. They hate our way of life.
Or they overthrew the Shah of Iran, who we imposed on Iran because the Dulles brothers, one at the CIA and one at the State Department, decided that the oil beneath the soil of Iran belonged to BP and belonged to us. And when Mossadegh, who was the leader of Iran, the democratically elected leader of Iran, said that we would like to audit BP because we want to know if you are cheating us or paying the people of Iran based on the oil under their soil. And they said, you may not audit us. And then we overthrew him and he wound up dying in prison because we decided that we, in our arrogance as a country, got to own their oil. And wait a minute, no, one moment. And so the hatred of the United States had to do with the hatred of the Shah, who brutally repressed the people of Iran for 26 years until he was overthrown within Iran because he was not their natural king. They didn't want a king any more than we wanted a king. The bottom line is the arrogance of the United States' foreign policy. We act as if people act in a vacuum, and that nothing we do has ever led to the hatred of us in other countries. And I'm not saying that hostages should be taken, but you just said because they hate our freedoms. Well, that's BS.
They hate the Western workplace. I want to answer
They hate our freedoms. When she broke down explicitly how we hate their freedoms at the time, installed different leaders. How often, as we're talking right now, as you hear Donald Trump flip-flopping back and forth over regime change, guarantee he doesn't have any idea what previous regimes were, what current regimes are, and why we've gotten to where we are. All he knows is they're lesser than me. I can bomb them and they get in the line. He says it explicitly. And again, these folks that are supposed to be smart are on TV. And their answer is, well, the reasons why they hate us is because they're jihadist terrorists that want to see us dead. The 3-year-old kid that you dismembered and killed, he's a jihadist terrorist that wants you dead. Maybe his father wants you dead because you dismembered him. You know, if in this country, one of the big fear tactics, scare tactics that politicians use is some illegal is going to run up in your house and kill your kid. If that happened, wouldn't you be against them? Wouldn't you be against anybody, as you guys are now, anybody that looks like them? Because that's what policy is based off of right now. There's mass deportations when you're separating families, and when you're going after a 67-year-old man who's gardening or something, or driving his car to work, or waiting for work somewhere else, because they look wrong, because you've told enough people the lie that these immigrants are coming up and stealing your children out of your house. You want them out of the country, and you don't even care if they don't have due process. You don't care if they're assaulted on the streets. You don't care if they're murdered. You don't care if they're disappeared from any existence that they used to have. The Supreme Court just supported this guy and wanting to send folks to third countries that maybe they've never even been to, that are big on torture and big on imprisoning people, just because. That's what we're legitimizing right now. We're repeating the same process. So you can't even deny that we do things like that. We're doing it right now. So many people that you're calling subhuman and that you'll send off to other countries and you'll separate from their families, people that contribute to our society, they don't like you anymore. And the reason that they'll say, not because we've destroyed their families, their lives, and killed their loved ones, it's because they just don't like our freedoms. That sounds like white supremacy. If you don't see it, you're plugging your ears and you're closing your eyes. It just is what it is. And if you're a white person and you don't want to see it, it's not about you. You can be a part of being against that. White supremacy is a group of white folks that believe in this type of mindset, and it's flooded into all kinds of government, all kinds of leadership positions in the country. They're all over the place, and they're constantly trying to re-implement that. That's what Make America Great was. That's what it was about. That's what it's always been about. It's why it was the slogan that Klan members walked up and down the street back in our civil rights era did the same way. Make America great again for certain kinds of people that are better than others. Donald Trump just called these folks schoolyard children that are fighting, and just let them fight each other with some missiles every once in a while. Then we'll drop huge bombs because we're the strongest, and they'll all shut up. Does that look like look like supremacy to you? It's exactly what it is. So just because Jayar Reid goes on TV and tells you guys the real actual basis for the reasons why some folks may not like us and say things like, yo, the great evil, whatever the terms are that they're so afraid of, it's maybe because there was some evil things that we did to them in the past that aren't that long ago. You have to take away people's humanity in order to not pay attention to their grievances, to their humanity, to their connections to their families, to their connection to their previous generations, to them being obliterated from existence. You have to not pay attention to their humanity. Oddly, the same way the Nazis did to Jewish folks. But we're back in this country that's trying to do it to other folks. Weird how that works. It's only been what? 70 years, 80 years now? That's how we operate. Sorry, you guys. I've been ignoring everything you're saying. I'm just annoyed. I'm really tired. We've been doing this a long time. And lines are drawn, and the problem with the reasons why we have so much violence going on. I was just talking to Ida Rodriguez earlier today. I don't know if you guys remember Ida. Love Ida. Always on the show before. And I mentioned how we've got to this point where people are cornered, and we know that the whole point is cornering people. What do you think folks are supposed to do? It's survival now. But the folks who are dropping the bombs aren't the savages. The folks that are killing innocent people aren't the savages for some reason, because they're the ones dropping the bombs. And if you don't listen to them, they pull a gun out and stick it in your face. I call that a thug. Weird how that works. A robber can come up in your house and stick a gun in your face and give me everything you got, and he's a bad guy. We can do that backed by the government, and it's not a bad guy thing to do. Why? Anyways, I'm glad to see you guys. Oh, we got 15 minutes until John show. I wasn't supposed to be on this long. I guess I talked more than I originally thought I would. Good to see you guys. Who's in the house, man? I know May Money, you were here. Robbie Garza. By the way, I'm done with Donald Trump and his warmongering, his Secretary of War. I'm just glad you guys are here. This is what you guys are supposed to do. We got 15 minutes. I'm not going to be here for another 15 minutes, but I do want you guys to do this. When you guys go over to TDR, to the damage report, go ahead and flood them. What did they used to do on Twitch? Or is it Twitch they used to do that? They would do like a, not used to, they still do it. I just don't go on Twitch. They flood with like a party or something to someone's stream. Go in there, talk about the watch party that we've started. It's every morning. Oh, for me at 11 a.m. noon Eastern time. 9 o'clock for you guys on the West Coast. We're gonna do it more and more and more and more. In fact, I'm gonna try and do it every day. If I miss a day, I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you guys know in the meantime. But I wanted to tell you guys this as well. Go over to my Instagram. Hit me up. Give me some ideas of what you guys want to talk about. It doesn't always have to be about how Donald Trump is starting wars. Because again, if you guys are old watchers of the watch list, we didn't only talk about this stuff. We got a chance to actually express and talk about things in society outside of the hardcore politics. The problem is our hardcore politics is determining everything else. It's a bit of our freedoms and our democracy on the line. So it's become the main vein of everything I talk about. But every once in a while, I do want to talk about other things. What are you guys thinking about? Even if it's about hardcore, serious stuff, let me know. Reach out to me. I want to hear from you guys. And maybe we'll craft some more things that we can all interactively talk about here. Good to see you guys. Glad you're here. If you just showed up, I apologize. I'm about to jump off. We got 15 minutes until TDR comes on. Not sure who John has on today. But of course, if you guys don't know this as well, check me out on Mondays. I do Mondays on the Damage Report. We've been back for a couple months now. I also have another channel, Jayar Rated, also here on YouTube, where we'll do other discussions and I'll run all my old JR Rated types of things. I start loading up on that page. Go give that a follow, you guys. Find me on all the socials. I think I'm getting more active also on Instagram as well, too, you guys. A lot of my thoughts are there. Glad to see you guys. Glad you're here. But now I have to go. You guys have an excellent, Wednesday? Have an excellent Wednesday, you guys. Good to see you.